in getting their full body and mind connection, I guess, treated. And so I think it's very, very important, and I love teaching about it. So I'll keep letting people in here. Okay, I just chatted everyone the Blomquist Health Videos chat link for our YouTube channel. So it is there. Of course, if you don't know me and you don't know how that works, that's our YouTube channel. You will all get a recording and the PowerPoint to this webinar if you're registered. And then they go on YouTube, so you can have anyone or any of your colleagues or friends watch it for free on there too. So any of these that we do go on there later. The anxiety program I teach isn't recorded, it doesn't go on there later. So if you're interested in the anxiety program, that starts again mid-April. So you can sign up for any of these webinars on our actual website under workshops. Website workshops, yeah, 2 words together there. So okay. So let's talk about this. Kind of a question for a lot of you. Now, like I said, keep your cameras off if you don't want to be in the recording, but you can chat me, or you can chat me privately, or you can chat the group anytime, and we can kind of go over those questions, or definitely answer them at the end. But what kind of gut health do you know about? How do you find your mental health is connected to your gut health? And just write down the first thing you think of. Like, what is it that, you think is connected, or if it's not connected at all? I mean, I have lots of kiddos with stomach aches and, diarrhea, constipation, serotonin is produced in the gut. Yeah, and I don't even go over that a lot in this, which I could. There's so much, but yes, 80 to 90% of serotonin, melatonin, your dopamine is in the gut. So we got to get it to the brain. So we just always talk about that. So good. Someone said everything. It is. To me, it's everything. Everything starts in the gut. So inflammation is from the gut. Everything sends our body into a reactive formation when we're in our fight or flight, when we're in our stress response and our PTSD. And so everything causes inflammation. And that inflammation tells us to do something, tells us that we're broken, literally our bones broken, you swell up. Something's wrong with our gut. We're inflamed in our gut, our body, our muscles, our tendons, everything inflames. And so that is everything to do with the gut. So we're definitely going to talk about how that connection is with the brain and the vagus nerve, physical health, sleep, diet, energy, of course. We're going to talk about the connection to anxiety for a minute. We're going to throw in a little bit of leaky gut, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of liver detox, because I just got done with a liver and gallbladder summit for several days. I listened to those podcasts morning and night for free, and then some training. So, and everybody can listen to those. They're summits that I sign up for. They're awesome. So we're going to go over some of that. Okay. And tools and coping. So I throw this out there because this is one of my slides from the anxiety program. So what is the difference between panic and anxiety? Well, there's a lot of similarities, and then there's a lot of differences. So the point is, we're not going to go into panic and anxiety, stress. We're going to go into the 4 C's of the brain. So we have to have clarity. So what this is clarity, right? I teach a lot of clarity, hopefully. So we can get just some, it's not 100%, it's just some clarity on a subject. And then we can connect the dots, or we can have connection with something, right? So our brain and our body and our gut connection, right? That's a connection. Then we have some control over it, hopefully, right? And then the clear over here is closure. So we can get to the closure part, and hopefully we could say, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be forever closed, but at least we have some closure on some acceptance. And that's a dialectical behavioral term of radical acceptance. So I call it closure. When we have radical acceptance and we understand some things and then we accept it, then we have a lot more control and connection and clarity. So that's what that's supposed to be about there. So we're going to, of course, exercise, nutrition, rest, positivity, that's all physical health. Our physical health, our diet, exercise, sleep. So that's the main components, right? So here's some regular exercise, some balanced nutrition, and some rest. So those are our basic, 3 sections of our physical health. So when we talk about balance, which I have tons of workshops on balance and mindfully getting through depression with balance, stress, balance, anger management, balance, everything's to try to get yourself more balanced. So, but the first part of the balance always to me is physical health. So we have to go into the body, because if we're not sleeping, I'm not going to treat anything else. If we're not eating, if we're not regularly moving, we're not going to get through to the rest of the physical, mental, social, and emotional, spiritual balance. So, okay. So this is some signs of those balances. So cognitive, emotional, behavioral, and then this physiological. So it's like, okay, here's the physical part for sure. There's just normal signs that can happen when we're out of balance, when we're in burnout. So this is not a burnout webinar, but we're going to definitely direct you to those other webinars, because the stress management one, it's called Stress Science. I did a few weeks ago. I was really good about that. So here's the brain. So this is a little bit about why the brain health is super important. There's just for one little tiny example of gray matter and white matter. So the gray matter is all this motor skills and emotion and problem solving and greater reading comprehension. And here's the sleep and the exercise and the grounding, art, music. Okay, 10-minute distractions. I talked a ton about that. So, and the last one I did, that's why I put the webinar link up there, because last week was sleep, and it's not on YouTube yet, but it will be soon. So there, it was called Sleep Science. Okay, so I'm not going to go into a lot of that because that's what I just did, so I could go into this. So here's gut, here's sleep, but super important. So, okay, so I'm going to touch on it though, a little tiny bit of sleep. But you got to realize there is scientific ways to grow or shrink your gray matter. So shrinking gray matter is not what we want. And so we want to improve all these things and keep things going. So your sleep cycle. So I told you I'd touch a little bit on sleep. And this is really vital for our gut, and I'll show you in the next slide why the circadian rhythm is super vital for our organs, for our gut, for our pancreas, for our liver, our kidneys, everything. Each thing has a time frame that it goes through, and every single night it repairs and rejuvenates those things, gets us back at the right pH balance. We have to go through REM cycles to shrink the brain. Our brain actually shrinks about over 20% every night because the toxins and what's in our body, which is inflammation too, right? So it's all inflamed, and it takes us 8 hours to get rid of all the crap that we did during the day. What we breathed, our toxins, what we ate, our sugars, our carbs, everything that we took in, we've got to repair it, and we've got a lot of that going on. So this is what I'm talking about. So the gallbladder, the liver, the lungs, the large intestines, the stomach, kidneys, bladder. So this is like a little chart. I love this little chart. It just gives you a good little glimpse of what's going on, you know, the AMs and the PMs through the night. So you probably can't read that, it's small, but you can always blow it up or pause this later when you have this PowerPoint. But this is just the basic stuff that we want to do to get us ready for bed and to make sure that we have this cycle going so we can heal every single night. So sleep, our physical health is number one, but sleep out of that, it hands down is number one. The best thing that you can ever do, the number one thing that you can improve to get everything else to go is your sleep. So, and you have the power, and here's some ideas, right? Again, blue blocker glasses a night. In the morning, if you do a 20-minute workout, it releases GABA for 12 hours. We're going to talk about GABA. No power after 8. Take back your power rooms, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. Those are the rooms that are power rooms that you want to take back. You have the power to unplug. That's the point. But you just have to unplug. So I'm going to buzz through these. I know I go fast. Everybody that knows me, it's a fast PowerPoint. It's a fast webinar, but that's how we get through it. I have a lot of stuff on here. That's why you'll get this later. So this is funny, right? So gut, you boost my serotonin, and oh brain, you know, right? You give me butterflies. That's actually pretty true. So you got to get from the gut to the brain. So this is where I love, love, love this stuff. Because it's important. We don't understand a lot of people that I treat in private practice or, you know, at Blomquist, they don't understand how serotonin works. They don't know how their SSRI actually works. They don't know how to get maximum balance in that in their body. So it definitely starts in the gut. Okay, so I was trained by Leslie Korn, Korn right here. She says junk food, refined foods, trans fatty acids, and alcohol abuse contribute to chronic gallbladder congestion, low bile. I'm going to talk about bile. Maybe I'll talk about it right now. Output, gravel gallstones. Okay, so like this liver gallstone summit that I just got done attending here and there. It talks about the gallbladder, and it talks about liver and the gallbladder and the stones. There's actually, you actually have, most people don't know this. I learned a lot more about it, but the liver actually has stones in them that you have to detox. That's how to get out those stones and fatty, to get rid of your fatty liver, and you have to actually detox, and you actually can detox stones out of your liver up to a marble size stones. Isn't that crazy? You thought that you're add this person in, thought that only kidney stones happened, right? But no, liver has lots of stones in it. And I've been detoxing and getting ready to detox the liver fully. So yeah, and I can tell, because that's what happens. My body starts detoxing. And so where there's mental illness, there's poor digestion. That's just, there's too much fact to that. So you can see this vagus nerve diagram, the circulation, the fatty acids, the gut, you know, right? In here goes back to the brain, but then the vagus nerve I'm going to go over next. So don't worry if you want to know a little bit about that. But let's go over this bile a little bit. So I'm just going to explain what bile is. It just carries toxins from the liver to the gut, and then gets disposed of, right? So that's the point. So the liver does that, and the lymphatic system does that. It gets rid of all the toxins and drains all that. So if there's congestion, it's not getting it out in the lymphatic system or the liver. So it's not just the gut, because we got to get all that to the gut and out, right? So there's, and I'll talk about later how to get some of that out. So it's just the digestive agent for fat, okay? So for the fats, bile is for that. So high fatty diet, that's not the good fats. I'm all about the good fats, but the saturated fats, it works really hard to get all that out. And sometimes that's why we have a fatty liver. That's why we have clogged arteries, because that is not doing its job. And lymphatic. The lymphatic's the biggest thing there to drain it out. Okay, so let's talk about that vagus nerve a little bit. It's just so overwhelming. There's no escape. There's no feeling of being trapped. The third circus of the vagus nerve engineers a shutdown. So the vagus nerve it's the only nerve that runs through everything, really, literally. So it sends us to fight, flight, or freeze, but it calms. So it can be our, alarm system, and then our calming nervous system. So we really, it narrows the focus so we can get into a stressed brain, and that's awesome, right? It works. That's how it works. But the body's responses are not voluntary, and often people are not aware of the trigger, okay? Which it's really, I don't really focus on the triggers, but it is something that has to do with your fight or flight. So we always talk about that in the vagus nerve. But so are we treating the wrong brain sometimes, right? So back to this, we want to activate the vagus nerve. 90% of the fibers in the vagus nerve will actually transmit information to the brain. So it sends, once again, it sends us to our fight or flight if it needs to. It sends that message to the brain that says run from the bear, But the thing is we've got to understand what GABA is and that neurotransmitter that regulates the nervous system and switches off stress reactions. So that's why I have people take GABA at night over the counter. It's just, it's called GABA. That's all you need to know in there, but we'll talk about that. But we want the serotonin transmitters, to work, right? So here's serotonin, here's melatonin, here's that, dopamine in the gut. So we want those to transmit, and that's the problem. So we usually don't have enough of those going, and that's another long story of how to, why that happens. But there's a whole bunch of reasons. A lot of toxins in our system and what we're eating and our processed foods are definitely smashing us down with that. So, so it's the bacteria in your gut that is responsible for producing 90% of the body's serotonin. So, and over half of that is GABA. So we want that to get to us. Now we have to produce our own serotonin too. Sometimes the sunshine does that, just being outside. Exercise does that. Now dopamine is another story. And if you want more on dopamine, you can always watch The Addicted Brain. That talks all about dopamine, how to get us motivated and active in that, and where we want to not burn out our dopamine receptors because we have a no baseline. Our peak is always too high. That's a whole other thing, but very interesting. So but we're talking just serotonin here and the GABA receptors. Okay, so here's microbiome. Okay, so microbiome is, let's see how to sum that up. Well, so there's the bile and then there's the microbiome. So what kills all that is an antibiotic, right? So it kills all the good bacteria. So we want good bacteria. We want the microbiome to be healthy and to have enough in the gut. We have to have lots of it. So that's where your probiotics and your prebiotics come in play. So especially after an antibiotic, most of us, after we had this stretch of viruses or anything through the winter now, we have to cure and help the gut, because you have to get your gut healthy again after an illness to get back your immune system. So that's where this happens. So it helps regulate the function of the gut-brain axis. Okay, it's made up of trillions of microbiomes of like, so that's why we like, you know, sauerkraut and bitters, they're called, and things like that to help this in the gut. And you can also, like I said, take probiotics. But your emotions, yes, pain, bloating, stomach, diarrhea, of course, mood or anxiety. So this is where the emotions lie really in this gut problem. So you can have these certain conditions, of course, but you can have mood and anxiety because of low microbiome or so here's this little gut-brain axis connected to communication, right? Signaling. The gut microbiome plays the important role. And here's these little, this was like you know, there's lots of mice and rat and, you know, studies out there. So short chain fatty acids produce the gut microbiome and influence how the brain cells develop and function in mice. So that's what this is about. But okay, we got lots more to cover. So I know just a little touch on every little thing, and then we'll get to the end here. So a little bit more of this. So the brain gut connection. So when you're stressed, the brain sends a signal to the gut. You've heard of the second brain. It's definitely there. You have a gut instinct. Yes, you have one. It sends signals, and you know how upset your stomach gets when you're stressed out or you haven't slept about something the next day or something's happened, and you just feel sick to your stomach. Yep, that's what that is. It's very connected. So follow a diet that includes this. Is how you know, we're going to talk tons about everything else. Yes, that's simple. Oh, here's the diet, right? Great. And this one says, of course, whole grains and water and probiotics with your meals. I will talk about keto. I'll talk about getting rid of grain. So that's this whole grain. So there's a side to everything. There's a whole side to everything. So the grain brain and the keto brain, there's lots of science to this now, for sure, about when you eliminate gluten and you eliminate whole grains, actually, and flour and processed sugar, processed foods, how much the brain improves. So I've got these referenced, of course, everything is referenced in the back of these PowerPoints. If you haven't watched one of these, you'll see in the back always of the books, but yeah, this one was as a new one on my shelf, but the keto and healing your body and curing your mind, I'm going to quote in a minute. So it's all good, whichever way works for you. If you have food sensitivities, we're going to talk about that, and that's most likely you have leaky gut if you have that going on. Okay, so a little bit more on this. So here's an example of depression, anxiety, and stress. Okay, so of course, basic stuff here. Your stress hormones are released through, your adrenal glands, activates that pathway, goes into the intestines, the gut, leaks, possibly, right? So we want those toxins that go into the bloodstream, that's leaky gut, causes inflammation, and it starts all over again. So neural inflammation. So basically, it's here to here, and it causes that inflammation. So anything that we can do to reduce inflammation, which is the number one diet for that is keto diet, but it's a very low inflammation diet. So that's the cycle there. Okay. And when that's repeated and repeated and repeated, because the bile is leaking, the toxins are leaking into your bloodstream, that's leaky gut. So that's a problem. And I promise you won't be sleeping. Very good. So good mood, good sleep, exercise over here, happy hormone, dopamine, serotonin, melatonin release. So those are the only three I really talk about always with clients and in my PowerPoints, these three. So I really like this demonstration. I love visuals, so it's always about a visual, right? So then here's the mucus carrying. Oh, okay, good stuff going to the brain because it's gone through the gut and it's not killed it right down here in the gut, which is like leaky. It's gone into the microbiome, food, serotonin, etc. It's saturated in and it's moved through the vagus nerve, stimulates the activity of the brain. So I thought this was a great visual. So that's pretty the good basics, right? So this is the disease, this is the inflammation, this is high blood pressure, this is anxiety over here, and all kinds of things. And then this is what we want it to look like. Okay. Any questions so far? We're halfway. You can go ahead and chat anytime. If you have a question, so you don't remember, so you don't forget it, so you remember it, and then I can address it right now if you need me to. Okay, so this is another little visual about the leaky gut. So, you can just read more about this. It's very well known now about how this is happening. Now, why do you think this is happening more and we're more aware of leaky gut? Well, there's lots of hypotheses to that. Number one, we're not sleeping like we've done before. We have never been in a place where we're sleeping like we are, which is not very good. So in America, when I talk about America's stats, so that means, that's my hypothesis about sleep, of course, about all of this, take it and leave it, is we're not repairing the brain with the toxins, right? So if we're not sleeping, we're not shrinking, we're not getting rid of the toxins, and we're not moving that, and we're not getting to the right pH balance every night that we're supposed to be at in our gut. It actually takes that long to get us back. You know, every time we have a Coke or something, it's a 3.9. We're supposed to be at a 7 something. So in our pH balance. So every time all of our foods during the day and everything we're breathing in our toxic world, a little bit of pesticides and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to get into the political part of that, but it's adding to our ability to fight off really high toxins. And then we can go into molds, we can go into metals, toxicity in metals. And so that's definitely, definitely lots of research is coming in on this, and how much we're toxified. So we've got to detox a lot more often. And I'm going to get into that. Yes. And sauna detoxing, and I have a whole slide on just detox stuff that, is pretty good, basic detox, where we definitely have to detox the gut, we have to detox the liver, and we have to also keep the lymphatic system moving to do all that. So, and that's the thing is, if it's coming into, if these toxins are leaking out of our gut and into our bloodstream, then that makes our lymphatic system basically poisonous. That's what I envision. Our body is poisoned now, and it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be in our blood. So that's the problem. That's why we have the system that we have. It's supposed to go out of us, right? Fun stuff. Okay, so yes, let's focus on now what to do about how to get our gut a little healthier. I mean, it's really, I always say, pick 4 to 6 things, and start for 3 months, meaning 4 to 6 things, meaning drink a little more water with lemon, or you're going to move 10 minutes more that day. You're going to meditate, you're going to do some breathing, you're going to do some writing, something that you're going to add to your life for 10 minutes, and they're 4 to 6 things. And then you can, mark them off, 5 times out of the week, out of 7. It's not perfect. It's not perfection. And if you listen to, I always quote him, so I'm always listening to him, but Huberman Labs, his name is Huberman, his last name. I don't think I have him quoted anywhere in this PowerPoint, but in my other ones. He talks about habits, he talks about lots of things. So he's got lots of great things on his podcast about those kind of things, about how to add things to our life and just say, okay, I'm going to do 4 of these things today, or I did 4 out of the 6. Great. So it's just simple things, but it's routine, and it takes quite a while to get into a habit of 3 months of doing something new. So liver and lymph detox. Okay, so a little bit of detox here. So this is just some basic stuff that we can go over. This is the leaky gut stuff. It affects everything. So the one telltale sign of being toxified is allergies, skin issues. So if you're having skin issues, when I detox, I have skin issues sometimes because it comes out in the skin. So it's like, when I need to detox, when I feel like then I know I need to, because, there's the skin stuff that happens. It's not just acne. It's just, so here's your adrenals, here's your joints. Here's what happens when we're basically, all you have to know is that you're inflamed, in that. So, okay. So let's go over some of these. The choline is something that was just listed in my training. Of course, it's a supplement that you can buy. It helps with the detox of the liver. So, and let's see. And I'm thinking if I need to go over any more of if you have any more questions about leaky gut, but yeah, that's all I had down, is like that triggers the excessive inflammation in your body. So castor oil, one of the easiest, cheapest, coolest ways, right? So I love castor oil. So it makes for bloating and detox. You definitely can put castor oil packs over the liver. It's on your right side, on your gallbladder and your liver's on this side, so you can put them on there. You put something warm on it and leave it on for an hour. Sometimes people sleep in them. I put it on all the time, and I just leave it on. That's not Mike Thistle. That's a typo. I just recognized that. So that is milk thistle. Might have to do with my favorite person, Mike. But maybe that was in my subconscious. So so milk thistle, I'll change that before I send it out. Dandelion root, okay. So these, you can also, I have dandelion root tea, so that's how I get my dandelion root. I drink that. I've been drinking that for a while now. And turmeric tea or turmeric. I take turmeric every day. So dry brush. So these are all just reading. These are all just supplements. And you just read, you figure out how you're going to take it if you need to take it. This is not to do a full liver cleanse. This is just your daily stuff and your weekly stuff. But if you do a full cleanse, that's a whole other, your 3-day to 12-day cleanse. But this is going to keep you, I guess, stable in some ways in reducing your inflammation. Turmeric is one of the best things besides magnesium to take for anti-inflammatory. So dry brush is, you can buy a little brush. Dry brushing, you can just look up, there's tons on YouTube of like dry brush lymphatic system. Okay, so dry brushing. Okay, you've not heard of that, look it up. It's cool. It should be done every single day. That keeps your lymphatic system going too. It pushes out bile if it's in your blood. And sauna. So heat, okay? Heat is the key here. Heat. Intermittent fasting, of course, if you want to go into that, there's lots of that. And one of my favorite guys is Josh Axe, and I follow him. And he is just really, really awesome on collagen diets and just overall keto. So you can go into that. Let me go through a couple more on this list and I'll answer a couple questions. Epsom salt. Epsom salt is just, it's minerals. So we want a really good Epsom salt. It's really good for the digestive system. Of course, it says on there, you need, if you're constipated, use Epsom salt in the bath. Now, Epsom salt only has to be soaked through the feet. So you don't need to get in the bath. So the recommendation is 30 days of Epsom salt straight in the bath, even eating a teaspoon of it. But if you just want to soak your feet, watch a movie, do this every night, put your feet in it, because that's really the only place that you need it to absorb, and it will just go through that way. So, but baths are great. They're one of the best self-soothing, self-care, relaxation, heat. There's so many things to just having a bath in bringing up your own body temperature, because it's just, every single time you bring that up, it's like a fever. It fights off stuff, and it just keeps you from getting sick, honestly. The detox teas, dandelion, chamomile, peppermint, turmeric, lemon, ginger. There's a combo that there are all three of those that are great. Peppermint every day. The dandelions, this dandelion root up here, that's just one way to keep you detoxified a little bit there. So let's see how we are in a couple questions here real quick. So any suggestions you play into using sauna? So yes, that sauna, it's the heat and it's sweating. Sweating is one of the best ways. I just love yard work. That's why I do yard work. That's why I have a yard. That's why I do lots of gardening. Sweating. Yeah, right. So, okay. Let's see. How do you find out if you have leaky gut? Severe bloating. Yes, it's a bloating thing for sure. Bloating comes with a lot of other things too. But if you want to know how you have leaky gut, there is tests, but really it's by symptoms. If you go to your homeopathic functional doctor, any functional doctor, you can talk to about that. And so it's most likely that you have certain symptoms of leaky gut. If you looked it up and just looked at the symptoms, it's now looking like, 70–80% have leaky gut because of our toxins. We're not able to get rid of our toxins. We're so overloaded. And so the other thing is anybody that has a food sensitivity has leaky gut, anybody. So you have to heal the gut, and actually you're able to handle your food sensitivities. Now, if you're allergic to gluten or dairy, you've had leaky gut at one point, for sure. And if you've stopped eating those things, then it heals the gut. You can heal the gut. And there is lots of supplements that you have to take to heal the gut. I'm not going to promote anyone, but you're going to have to find that on your own, because there's some places I know have some supplements, but I'm just an Amazon 5-star finding things to help. There is definitely lots of other things just for leaky gut that you can try to heal that up. But really it's your current, what we put in our mouths and our current toxicity, testing for metals, testing for mold, testing for food sensitivities. And it's really hard to test for food sensitivities because you have to basically eliminate and see if your symptoms go away. super tough in that way. Does bad circulation have an effect on any part of this? Yes. Circulation is inflammation. So when you don't have circulation, your lymphatic is compromised, number one. When you don't have circulation, it means that you're inflamed and your lymphatic system needs to be drained. So once again, I don't even have this on here. I always keep adding to this list, but massage, just massage is one of the best things to do that. There is a lymphatic massage that you can do on yourself too. And then there's just regular massage. There's not a month that goes by that I don't get 2 massages. So it just helps all this kind of stuff. I'm just telling you my part of what I do, because I don't think I could teach all this and not do it myself. And I've done all of this myself. And hopefully I'll be a really young, vibrant grandma, right? I am already. So, and I'm not being very funny today, because I'm just talking about these serious things. But yeah, so we just want to live life, and we want to just be the best person inside first, because I can't treat your outside in your environment if your inside is toxic, basically, right? If I can talk about toxic relationships, and I can talk about relationships because that's my specialty all day long, but if your inside and outside is toxic, we've got a problem, right? So it's all connected. I love talking about relationships, but integrated medicine is both together. So that's what it is. It's like here's and here's. Oh, let's do blood work. Let's make sure we get the blood work done to test that. And that's where you can get that blood work done. You just got to go find a health provider that will actually do it for you. And you got to ask them what you want and ask them what you need. And then they'll hopefully follow through. But regular functional, doctors, and then regular MDs, I mean, they might not know what to do with the blood work after you get it done. So checking this thyroid over here, right? So any kind of inflammation and bloating is a sign that something's not moving. Your bile is not moving, and your microbiome is not good. And so anytime after you've had a cold, after COVID, I mean, I had to fight off after COVID, and it's like, okay, I've taken a huge 3-month regimen on healing my gut, because that's where your immune system is. So you've got to heal the gut after to heal your immune system. Okay, so we'll get to a few more of these. Some other things, basic stuff. Okay, here's your junk food, red dye, artificial sweeteners, awful. So your multivitamin, it's a regular multivitamin. Doctor Yourself is this slide. His name is Doctor Yourself. It's Saul, his book. And so Doctor Yourself, but vitamin C, he always talks about vitamin C to oral tolerance. Same thing with magnesium sometimes. So that just means oral tolerance. It means when you're getting to that tolerance stage, you know what I mean? So probiotic digestive enzymes. So that's what we kind of talked about already. GABA, serotonin, shown to reduce stress and decrease anxiety. Water, vitamin C, B complex. So he talks about niacin a lot. So this is a good, improves blood sugars and arthritis and digestion. We know that and so that's why a B complex is just really good. But then you can take a very good therapeutic dose on niacin, and you can read about his stuff on how to take that. So vitamin E, yeah. So I have vitamin C over here and vitamin C over here. So yeah, vitamin C to oral tolerance. But then here's what it does over here. It helps food cravings and memory and lead. So this one's, yeah. So it treats lead toxicity. Vitamin C does. So if you have lead toxicity or any kind of other metals, it's going to help with that. Binders, they're called, help with that. And I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other thing. But you can find, they're called binders. And what you're doing is when you're detoxing, you want to take a binder to get those to hook to that and come out of you. So yeah. And parasites are in the gut and in the liver. So fun stuff. This is a fun subject. Okay. So here's some more lists of vitamin D3, of course, C, zinc you only take for a couple weeks and then you quit. B complex we've talked about. Magnesium is one of the best things with apple cider vinegar next to it for some anti-inflammatory with the and I already talked about turmeric, but so magnesium, apple cider vinegar is one of those things that are going to help the gut. Okay, it's a neutralizer of the pH balance. Magnesium is my number one thing. If you're going to take one thing, just take magnesium, and it's a night citrate, glycinate, and malonate. The glycinate kind is the kind that I recommend the most because it's the most absorbent. They're all three really good for sleep and anxiety. So find yourself a good magnesium supplement, and it's not in your multivitamin. It can't be. It's not enough, and it's taken at night. So your multivitamin and this on top of it. So your omega-3s, prebiotics, probiotics I talked about, iron, protein, those just help the blood move. Okay, GABA-5-HTP, these are amino acids. L-tyrosine is more like for your brain, and theanine is for sleep, and so is 5-HTP. So I talked about that. I did talk about that in the sleep science in last week's PowerPoint workshop. And these are just the outside activities, right? Of course, these are essential. We have to connect with ourselves. We have to connect with nature. We have to connect with play. We have to connect with creativity. Our brain does not light up in the depressive part of the brain when we're being creative. It just will not. It doesn't light up. So when we're creative, our depressed brain won't light up. So just remember that we've got a mood, we've got creativity. Okay, let's get to a couple more things, then we can do some questions, and then we're good. So to get to the wellness part, coping with stress, watch my other stress workshop, work productivity, so meaning in Lost Connections, and I have that referenced in the back of this, Johann Hari talks a lot about connection. If our work is depleting, if our relationships are depleted, and we're not connecting, and I call it, connecting with your soul in what really matters, then we need to do an overhaul, right? But do we do the outside or the inside first? I'm saying we do the inside first. We got to get our insides cleaned up so we can have the energy and the motivation, the dopamine and the serotonin to help us get there. So we got to get professional help in that if you need to. Develop a reward system, and connecting with others is what I was talking about just then. Attending to your triggers. So by tracking. Now that's just, I usually want you to do that with a therapist. Most doctors won't say, yeah, go track this, this, and this, and then come back to me 4 weeks. And I'll spend 45 minutes going over it with you. They don't. And unless, I did that with one provider, and, she's a homeopathic, holistic kind of, doctor that goes over all that blood work with you. You're tracking everything and you're going over blood work, and that's cash pay. So depends on what you got there. Staying positive, creative play, getting physical, helping others, getting enough sleep, practicing coping skills. So those are just like the basics, right? It's like, okay, great, we've heard all this. We've heard this, but it's so essential to make sure that we are balanced in the outside of in our relationships with connecting. And Lost Connections talks about that to a very good point of lots of research, and then his next book that is out now, it's going to be quite popular, Focus. Actually right here, I've had it pre-ordered, so it was ready before it was even out. So I got it. So I'm going to do a focus workshop soon. But Johann Hari, stolen focus. I mean, think about our focus in the last couple of years and where it's at. Good or bad, doesn't matter. I don't like good or bad. Just is it stolen? Is it there? Are we focusing on what we need to? Are we connecting with others? And it really has a connection to the brain. And we know that developmentally, attachment, our kids need that connection with humans for their brain to develop. We know that. So it's very essential as we're adults to continue that, to practice play, to stay positive in that, go into growth mindsets. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, I just want to make sure I went over these books, if there's any on here that I haven't. So the top one here, The Healing the Body, this is one of my summits that I've done. So this guy, he's, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but it's a good little book on basics, very, basic written, basic information. So how to heal through the leaky gut, other things. Axe always talks about the leaky gut, and that's this book, this keto book. Johann Hari, Man's Search for Meaning. That's just that getting into where your mindset is. Okay. And Korn, you can look up anything with her, and Second Brain, Trust Your Gut. She's who trained me. And then, Rewire Your Anxious Brain. Let's see, Grain Brain. That's the one right here. So if you have a kiddo that has especially any gluten intolerance and sensitivities, this is a really good way to go. And Doc Yourself, I talked about, and Why We Sleep is the workshop that I did last week. Okay, so we have a couple minutes. Any other questions? You're going to get this PowerPoint and recording out sometime soon. I'm going to put my email right here again. So if anybody needs to email me questions, you're just going to have to email me there. And if you want to check out the YouTube channel, I'll put that in here again. That is our YouTube channel with the other workshops. So, and if you have any great ideas about your company and what we do at Blomquist, and you need some wellness therapy, we do wellness, we do financial, we do regular individual, we do family, Zoom, phone, in person. So if anybody's new to this and you're new to a company that offers this, then welcome, and I'm glad you're all here. And you can always call our main number for anything that you need. And